To call Fauda a runaway hit doesn't do it justice, not merely in terms of the viewership it brings to Netflix as its most popular series, but as an Israeli production demonstrating enormous popularity in Arab countries and number one in Lebanon. Welcome, Avi Issacharoff, to the Media Line.
Thank you, Phyllis. Thank you very much.
Fauda, let's begin with the name. I mean, everybody knows it means chaos by now. Why'd you choose it?
We chose it for two reasons, I would say. One from the Israeli side, one from the Palestinian side. I'll start with the Palestinian side. Basically the situation on the ground in the West Bank and Gaza Strip during the years of 2000 and 2007. And I'm sorry to say that, but also in the last few months, what we see is chaos, meaning lack of Palestinian Authority functioning, lack of law and order, and the emergence of just militant cells, groups, small groups, militias that are doing whatever they feel like, whatever they want on the ground. And that situation was described as Fauda back then in the years while I was a journalist on the ground. And people were using that term in order to describe not only the situation around them, but actually the way of living. Meaning, just imagine yourself living with no law and order around you, with no police, with no authority. So that creates a kind of a very chaotic situation. And this is Fauda on the Palestinian side. On the Israeli side, for us, it was a kind of, while Lior and I were serving in the undercover units in the Israeli army, back in the early 90s, 30 years ago. So Fauda was a kind of a code name to describe a situation in which you are exposed by locals and the mob or people are trying to get to you, to kill you, to hurt you, and you're trying to call for rescue to come. And this is the code name that you report, Fauda, Fauda, Fauda.
I have to say the timing of season 4 release was amazing. It coincided with actual news as 9 Palestinians died when the Israeli army entered Jenin, claiming it was to thwart a terror attack. But 2 days later, terrorists killed 8 worshipers leaving a synagogue on the Sabbath. What were your thoughts as you learned this was happening? It really was coinciding, as I said, with the opening of your season 4.
So just keep in mind that our opening in Israel was in July. So we didn't plan anything to go, with the news. But it's very sad, that in many cases we found that Fauda either following the news or the news are following Fauda, because we are dealing with very realistic materials, because we are dealing with situations, realities that might happen on the ground. And sometimes reality does take us there. While we were writing it, it was 2.5 years ago. And Jenin was just at the beginning of the emergence of chaos, and we saw many militants over there. And again, as a journalist, I traveled a lot to Jenin. I visited this place lots of times, especially the refugee camp. And slowly, you could notice 3 years ago that there are more militants on the streets and there's less of Palestinian Authority, and the Israeli army is not that enthusiastic about going into the refugee camp. So in a way, we took this very sensitive region, this very problematic region, and we used it in order to describe how a terrorist cell that is combined out of Hezbollah on one hand and Hamas and Islamic Jihad on the other side can emerge in a place where there are no law and order.
Do people come up to you ever and say, I'm that character?
Yes, it happened to me a few times. It happened to me with Nurit, the undercover woman, Ronali Shimon. But it happened also with Captain Ayub, of course, and a few people claim that they are Captain Ayub.
We won't mention names, will we?
No. But that was their nickname while they were in the Israeli intel, Captain Ayub. It's not the real name, of course. But others, Steve is Steve. We know exactly who he is. It's very unique. It is inspired by a real character that we know, that we knew, that was serving with Lior in the same team, and other characters too, like all of almost inspired by true people.
So there were two sides to my next question. Do military officials see the program as giving away the farm, or is there an element of deterrence here?
I think that Fauda brings a dramatic story. It's not an attempt to deter. It's not something that gives up secrets. It's just a story, a good drama. It's inspired by true events, but it's not real life. I mean, I think that reality is way more complex than even Fauda. Although Fauda is very complex, reality is way more complex than that. And we're just trying to give a good story, not more than that. So, excuse me for not being part of the Hasbara attempts of the State of Israel, and excuse me for not being part of the Palestinian campaign against Israel. We're just trying to give a good show.
Avi, what surprises you most about the success of Fauda?
By no doubt, the success of Fauda in the Arab world, this is the thing that surprises me more than anything else. But, to be honest, I think that every time that I hear that Fauda succeeded in the Israeli market or outside of Israel, it's a surprise for me. This is not something that I nor Lior saw coming. And when it became popular in Israel, it was a kind of a shock for us. When it became popular all over the world, it became even more shocking. And then the most shocking thing was when we learned that it's not pretty, very popular among Arab states. You know that in Lebanon, just a few days ago, there was an article in French that was published, and the headline was Fauda, the TV show that the Lebanese hate to love.
It's interesting that there are many that we've tried to reach who watch it, but would not talk about that publicly in certain parts of the Arab world.
Of course, but I've spoken to so many people that have Lebanese friends. I know some Lebanese that do talk to me, of course. Everyone I'm watching Fauda. It's like, it's crazy. Everyone in Lebanon are watching Fauda, and I wonder what does Secretary General of Hezbollah, Hassan Nasrallah, has to say about it.
Oh, or the head of the PA security. I think there's a long list.
Yep. No, the Palestinian side, I know that they watch it. I know that, again, it's about Palestinians, and most of the characters on the other side are Palestinians. Some now on the fourth season are Lebanese, but Fauda was very popular in Lebanon also on the third season, not only in the fourth.
The role of female characters has developed in the course of the series, and particularly season 4's Maya Binyamin, who portrays the sister of a Lebanese source and a respected Israeli Arab policewoman, played by the noted journalist Lucy Ayub, and the role of a senior commanding officer, Meirav Sharon. Strong female women who are playing these characters. Is there a message here? Did that evolve in the storyline?
What we were trying to do is not to send a message. I think that we're both like two kids from Jerusalem at the end of the day, and people are asking us about Fauda. What is your message? Guys? There was no message. We just wanted to do something fun. We wanted to do a good show. So I think that the minute that you bring out of the equation the message thing, you understand that it's like two guys that just want to write a good show. That's it. Then, of course, you have the reality. And in reality, it's more than 50% in Israel, the population here is women. So, of course, you cannot ignore it. Even in the special forces, even in the most sensitive, secretive units in the Israeli security side, you will find so many women. Mossad, Shin Bet, the army intelligence, etc., etc. So we are just trying to make it real. Our Mirav, who's playing Dana, met real female characters that are in the Shin Bet, in the Israeli Internal Secret Service, and this is what they do. They are Dana. in the show, but in real life. So again, I think that what we just try to do is to show more complexity. Maya is like, I think it's like one of the best characters that we had in Fauda since Dr. Shirin in the first and the second season, because she's not part of it. And she's drawn to it by the tragic developments on the ground. She's just trying to be a good police officer in the Israeli police. But the reality is just tearing her apart and dragging her into the darkest places in which she will need to decide what is she.
How did this change you as a journalist?
First of all, I'm not a journalist anymore. You know, yeah, it's hard for me to say that because it's my instinct, because it's my, this is me, Avi. I'm a journalist. This is my second name, Avi Issacharoff, the journalist. This is how people know me in Israel, as a journalist who's covering the Palestinian side and the Middle East for the last 20 something years. But basically, I became more focused on telling stories to TV and cinema. And I still write as a journalist, but more as an analyst. So giving the bird's view and not from the small alleys of the refugee camps and villages. And I think that you've known me for quite many years now. And you remember my old happy days as someone who was traveling in Gaza and the West Bank and meeting all the
We'll get
Hamas
to that
officials.
in a minute. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but now, yeah, I sit now
Mm.
in my office in North Tel Aviv, and I'm a little bit, how do you call, shmendrik, we call it in Hebrew, like a spoiled kind of, I don't know, a high-tech guy. Like this street that I'm in Ramat HaChayal, it's so full of high-tech businesses and technology people. So at 1 p.m. you go out and look for the right place to eat lunch, and you go back to the office and you try to write the next story.
Your real life reporting has been something you've seen, that you've covered, certainly as a demonstration on Nakba Day, embedded in tunnels, and co-writing books, The Seventh War, on how we won and why we lost the war with the Palestinians, and the story of the Second Lebanon War. Years ago, you participated in the Mideast Press Club, where we brought Israeli and Palestinian journalists together. Do you think this could happen again, when today we see so much toxicity between Israelis and Palestinians for the most part?
I think it will be very, very hard to combine Israeli and Palestinian journalists. I'm sure that you will find enough Israeli journalists that will be happy to do that. I doubt if you'll see enough Palestinian journalists that will jump to this kind of an occasion. And because the minute that it will be out, the minute that something about it will be published, they will be the collaborators, the traders, and I don't think that for them it serves any kind of an interest. So definitely the situation changed not only on the ground but also among a community that was always collaborating, and these are the journalists. Now, once upon a time, a teacher of mine in the university, when I studied about the Middle East, who is a very old school known analyst for Palestinian issues, Danny Rubinstein, he said that in more than 100 years of conflict, two sectors continued to collaborate and to play together. One is the criminals, and the other one are the journalists. And I'm sorry to say that, but lately the journalists are not anymore collaborating as they used to play.
American reviewers focus on the human element, that you cover the human cost of the conflict, humanizing antagonists. A Palestinian leader told me you pegged it in the way you give true feelings to both sides. Is this maybe Fauda's secret element?
I'm sure that this is part of the thing. This is part of the story and the success. I suspect that also, our intention is to bring something that would make you feel real, authentic. So it's less of a Hollywood kind of style TV show. It's less of a Hollywood movie. It's very, very, it gives you the feeling that you're there with the people, like you're a fly on the wall. You're sitting in a room with them. You can feel the pain. You can hear the voices. You can smell the smells that they are smelling, although it's TV. And I think that this is part of the secret of the success of Fauda.
Did you ever wonder if watching Fauda ever changed the mind of a would-be terrorist or discouraged an Israeli from joining an elite unit?
I don't go there. I don't think that this is something that really happens. People are smart enough to understand that this is a TV show. So I don't think that they will change their minds. If someone wants to be a terrorist or a freedom fighter, depends on who do you ask, of course. Against Israel, he will do that with Fauda or without Fauda. And on the Israeli side, the same. Someone wants to go and become an undercover soldier. So I don't think that Fauda, maybe Fauda encourage people, or we know that the numbers of people that are volunteering to go to those kinds of units has jumped dramatically because they are the good guys, they are the heroes. But honestly, I don't think that Fauda is the thing that can change people's mind, yes or no, if they already decided.
Can you tell us about season 5? You have a cliffhanger there on the end of season 4.
We don't know yet about season 5. We don't know yet if we'll have season 5. We're still under negotiations. We definitely hope to get something, to do something, but it's not really in our hands right now.
And can you tell us about the new spy series, which is based on events in Israel and the United States involving a fight against terrorism?
So it's going to be aired in late spring in the US in Showtime. And it tells the true story of the longest manhunt in the history of the CIA and the Mossad after a terrorist that was responsible for the killing of more Americans than anyone else till Osama bin Laden.
Avi, parting words?
Nothing special. Just go watch 4th season of Fauda if you didn't watch it yet. And let's just hope that reality one day will prevail and bring us peace instead of another very bloody season of Fauda.
Avi Issacharoff, co-creator of Fauda, really appreciate your time with me on the Media Line.
Thank you. Thank you very much.